Hi everyone, this is Heather Lahtinen. I'm an Adobe certified expert in Photoshop and the chief editing ninja here at Hair of the Dog. And today I'd like to share a few quick tips inside of Lightroom in order to correct common problems you see with your photographs. In this case, we have a photo of my cat Fluffy, and he's kind of in the shadow. The background is a little more saturated than I like. That is, it's a little too green and yellow for me, for my personal aesthetic. So I just want to share with you quickly how I would correct this image. I always begin in the basic panel with exposure and color correction. So let's go ahead and just brighten this up and warm it up a little bit, taking a look at the before and after using the backslash key. Next, I'm going to access my adjustment brush by pressing K on my keyboard. Now, what I'm going to do here is just add a little bit more light onto Fluffy. And so I've pulled up on the exposure and on the shadows. I'm going to bring my flow down to about 50%. That way I can build it up. Density at 100 is good. That's my upper limit. And remember, these are all non-destructive and fully editable, so I can make adjustments if needed. So I'm just going to brush over him a little bit. And if you're not sure if you're going in a good direction with just this edit, what you can do is turn this adjustment off and then back on so that you can see what you've done. Now, many times when you're photographing animals in shade, they will look a little blue. His coloring looks pretty good here, but just a quick tip, if that happens, you can pull up on the temperature in order to warm that pet selectively rather than warming the entire image. I think that looks pretty good, but again, you could adjust these sliders as necessary. I will say that when I tend to add light, I also want to add some contrast back in and maybe increase the clarity a little bit. That just helps with any haziness that's a result of increasing the exposure. I'm going to press K in order to drop that tool. And the last thing I'd like to address is the fluorescent yellow and green in the background. I'm going to jump to my HSL sliders and make sure that I am on the saturation tab. Now, oftentimes in digital capture, what you'll see is sometimes like this, where it's extremely saturated and distracting from the image. So all you need to do is pull down on the green and yellow sliders in order to desaturate according to your editing style. Now, if you make a mistake, you can simply double click these sliders and they'll go right back to 0. And if you're not sure about the proportions of yellow and green that you would like to desaturate, you can simply grab the targeted adjustment tool by clicking it, placing your cursor over an area that you find personally offensive, and click, hold your mouse, and drag down in order to desaturate that area. And because all color is interconnected, you'll notice that Lightroom is pulling down on the yellow and the green, but in differing amounts. Let's click in order to drop that tool, and then I'm going to press the backslash key in order to see my overall before and after. And I think that looks great. It's a nice clean image. Now, the amount at which you decide to pull down on these yellow and greens is absolutely a personal preference. Obviously, I don't think it's a good idea to take it down too far, or your background will start to look gray and dead. But you also might not want to take it up really far either, or it looks just a little bit too saturated. As with all of the adjustments that I do inside of Lightroom in Photoshop, I want them to be subtle yet significant. I hope that you found this useful. I'll see you in the next video.